On today's show, Devin Booker comes in at number 14th on my NBA Top 100, but why that number doesn't matter as much as the tiers should in the NBA. Plus, we also got Jordan Knott's full coaching staff that we can react to, plus much more on this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show mornings on YouTube, covering Arizona sports for the past couple of years on there, and a credentialed Suns media member covering your Phoenix Suns 365 days out of the year. And yes, that is as many days that are in a calendar year, believe it or not. There's no days off here. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this beautiful Wednesday or Tuesday night, depending on where you're watching. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So hit that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked onto the Phoenix Suns each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And that's a great deal. Listen, I've got a jam-packed show for you guys today. I hope you guys are enjoying the new look Locked On Suns, where it's some guests, but also myself monologuing. As the season gets closer, we'll have more guests and a couple of days of me monologuing and ranting, because to be honest with you, this is my absolute favorite thing to do. So with that being said, let's start here. So for those of you that don't know, the Locked On Podcast Network decided to do something really cool. Every year, ESPN comes out with their top 100 players in the NBA. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they only do that once. And they come out with their top 100 players, and they rank them all 1 through 100. And I think over the past couple of seasons, the Suns have really only had 3 players in: Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant. And I'm not even sure if Bradley Beal made it the year prior. But also, The Ringer also does this as well. However, they update theirs throughout the year. Well, to be very trendy and hip like all the other platforms, we decided, why are we using other platforms' own top 100s when we have a bunch of smart hosts? Let's put our collective brains together and come up with the top 100 players in the NBA. Now, I want to explain to you why I'm not really into like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rankings. Because I don't necessarily think that matters too much. Because just like in the NFL, in the MLB, the NBA is no different. I believe there are tiers. And the way I go about that is superstars, all-stars, potential stars, bench rotational players, and bench guys. I think there are a multitude of different ways you can put those things. But what I think really matters is, who are the superstars? Who are the 7 to 8, 6 players in the NBA at a time that can win a championship? Now, I don't think Devin Booker is in that tier. As mentioned in the tease, I have Devin Booker in the 14th spot, which I believe is your all-stars, your players that can go off on any given night, be an elite number 2 on a championship-winning team, and they are highly compensated for what they do. They're going to make a bag full of money each and every game, but they are not in the tier of who my tier 1 stars are, who is Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, who I still believe is in that tier, Stephen Curry, and just so I make sure I don't miss anyone, I want to look at this and make sure I have it correct, but Jokic, Shai, Giannis, Luka, Steph, I believe Anthony Edwards is really close to that tier. And some people don't like to put these people in, but they are grandfathered in, these next 3 players, because until they show me definitively they cannot carry a team on any given night or in the playoffs, take themselves to a championship, I am keeping them in. And you might disagree with me on this, but I hold a superstar standard to a very high degree. I'm not giving it to your Jalen Brunsons, your Donovan Mitchells. Those are number 2s in my eyes. But LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry along with Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, SGA, and Nikola Jokic, I believe are your 8 superstars in the NBA, which means regardless of the team around you, likely, it's obviously going to be tougher if you have a, really bad team around you, but regardless of the team around you, if you make the playoffs, you have a chance to win a championship. Doesn't mean you will. Your chances vary, just like how Nikola Jokic and SGA's and, over the next couple of years, Luka's, percentages will be different on who has a better chance to win it. But those are my superstars. Those are my players that I believe if they are on your team, you have a chance to win a championship. Devin Booker isn't in that tier. I believe Devin Booker is clumped up in the tier of your Jalen Brunsons, of your Donovan Mitchells, of your Tyrese Halliburtons, your Jayson Tatums. And I always say that last name to finish my guys who I believe are in that second tier of players that can be an elite level Robin to other players as Batmans, because Tatum is often, I think, miscast as a superstar. And oftentimes because he won a championship, he's put in that top 1 echelon tier. But I just think Devin Booker is a better player than Jayson Tatum. I said it. I haven't wavered on this. But at the bare minimum, they're a draw. If you look at the statistics, they're awfully close. Devin Booker shoots 46. So last season, Devin Booker shot 46, 33, 89% from the field. Those were his splits. Jayson Tatum was 45, 33, 33% from 3, shooting 10 3-pointers a night, and 81% from the field. Devin Booker averaged about 1 point less than he did. Rebounds and assists. Rebounds, Jayson Tatum had 8, Devin Booker had 3, and Devin Booker had more assists than Jayson Tatum. True shooting percentage, Devin Booker 58.9, Jayson Tatum was, I thought I had it up, 58.2. So roughly the same, but Devin Booker still edges him out there. There is just a certain level to Devin Booker that I think Jayson Tatum has a hard time taking himself to. When you look at that championship run from Jayson Tatum, he was shooting tour-dates. There was a reason why Jaylen Brown was the MVP in both the conference finals and the championship. And this isn't a slight at Jayson Tatum. I just believe that those two guys are incredibly close. So when people talk about Jayson Tatum being that tier 1 echelon of NBA players, I just don't think that's the case. I think him and Devin Booker share the co-role of the best Robins in the league. And Jayson Tatum, you can win a championship with both of those guys, but they can't always be your ones. And that's why having Jaylen Brown, who is similar to Chris Paul, a 1A, 1B to Jayson Tatum, and that stacked roster helped put them over the top. Why do I say all this? Why do I compare Devin Booker and Jayson Tatum? Because it shows you if you build the right roster around Devin Booker, you can win a championship. It's just a little difficult to do so. The Western Conference is tougher than the Eastern Conference, and finding a 1B to Devin Booker's 1B would be tough to do as well. I actually think it's easier to find the superstar than it is at times to find the Robin to your Batman, because it's a tough role to play, and you got to be okay with playing that role. But Devin Booker has been. So when people get so fixated on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's not the point. It's the tiers. And it's, if you're in that tier 1 group, you're a superstar. Yeah, is Nikola Jokic better than Luka Doncic? Sure, but it's inches, it's not feet. Or I guess I should say it's feet, it's not miles. Because maybe it's a little bit bigger than what I was saying before. But Devin Booker being in the tier 2, just like Jayson Tatum being in the tier 2, is not a tough place for those guys to be. And it should give you hope and why it was the right move to extend Devin Booker. Because when you look at the statistics, They're very similar players. However, in the conference finals, I watched Devin Booker go nuclear against the Clippers. Jayson Tatum was very spotty, at least shooting the basketball. In the finals, Devin Booker, yes, had a couple of games where he wasn't great against the Bucks, but had back-to-back 40-point bombs. Without Jaylen Brown, they don't win the championship. But because that team was so stacked, and because Tatum plays the 1B spot very well, they were a team, figured it out, went to a championship. So again, my point is, it's not about listing players. It's about the tiers. Where are you at? What do I know you are? Can I win a championship with you as my one? Are you miscast as a one? Because I don't think the separation between Nikola Jokic and Anthony Edwards is the Grand Canyon. I think both guys are really good. Nikola Jokic, obviously, a decent amount better than Anthony Edwards. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to compare guys. My point is, if you have that tier one player, you can win a championship. But also, just like Jalen Hurts in the NFL, he's not a tier one level quarterback. But if you surround your star player with a bunch of talent, like you did with Devin Booker in 2021 and Jayson Tatum in 2024, 2023, you can win a championship. It's a little tougher to do. I get that. But all hope is not lost. If you can find a 1B to be the co-aces to a team like Brown and Tatum, you can figure it out. You can win a championship. You don't have to just go trade for the biggest guy. But as of right now, it's another reason why the Suns should have absolutely paid Devin Booker. He's the 14th best player in the league. He's the second best shooting guard in the NBA next to Anthony Edwards. But he's better than Donovan Mitchell. He's better than Jalen Brunson. I think he's right around the tier with Tyrese Halliburton. But we'll see how he comes back with an Achilles. Same with Jayson Tatum. Suns are in a good spot with Booker. And 14, I believe, is a very fair spot for him to be. With that being said, we also got other Suns news. Let's meet Jordan Knott's official staff. A breakdown of who is in, who is coming back from the finals year, and we're going to talk about it all and what it means next. But first, I got to tell you about my guys over at FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ from week one, before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Guys, I am a massive Cardinals fan. For those of you that don't know, I also cover the Cardinals, the Locked On Podcast Network, on the Locked On Cardinals Squad Show, Wednesdays and after big games. So check it out there. But man, Matthew Stafford, he's got a back injury. No one's really sure what's going on there. Kind of similar to Christian McCaffrey last year, having the Achilles injury, and then guys just not playing or not doing as well as we thought they might be doing health-wise. The Cardinals, that would be a sneaky long shot to win the division. And I haven't put out my big predictions yet for the Cardinals. But listen, that's a sneaky conference championship contending team. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, so we got today the official Phoenix Suns coaching staff, and in a press release today, the Phoenix Suns announced Jordan Knott's coaching staff. Quote, the Phoenix Suns today announced the coaching staff for head coach Jordan Knott, naming Jesse, whose name I know is down here and I want to say correctly, Mirmis. So Jesse Mirmis, Damari Carroll, Brian Randall, Chasen Allen, John Little, Mike Muscala, and Shane Dwyer as assistant coaches. The Suns have also announced that Mateen Cleaves has joined its player development as a player development leadership assistant. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm usually not, Cleaves is a former Michigan State University grad, if my notes are correct, and he is. And I want to nip this in the bud really quickly because people see the Michigan State connection and they immediately lose their mind. I have a theory that is obviously not true yet, but it is coming true. Slowly but surely. I mentioned this when Brendan was still on the show. I believe the Suns had a clear issue in terms of what their direction was. When Matt Ishbia came into the fold, he had James Jones, and it was some of Robert Sarver's guys, but it was also some of Matt Ishbia's guys like Josh Bartelstein, but James Jones was a Robert Sarver guy. I believe that clouded everyone's judgment, at least potentially, and we can't rule it out. I think we'd all agree this has been the most mature Suns offseason in Matt Ishbia's tenure. I believe there is something to that. So by hiring Jordan Knott, who's a Michigan State guy, and Cleaves, who's also a Michigan State guy, and having ties that all go back to your owner, I don't think are necessarily a bad thing. Everyone having the same common goal, thinking the same way. James Jones wasn't hired by Matt Ishbia, but I do think there's something to getting your guys in who are going to think the same way you are. So no issues with bringing in more Michigan State guys. Let's run the Matt Ishbia playbook. Let's see if it works out. And I believe with a common goal, everyone sharing the same thoughts and ideas while also having some healthy dialogue, that it's the correct decision for the team. I mean, guys, I've been the one who's one of the biggest critics of Brian Gregory, at least at the beginning. I mean, he's got the personality of a wet blanket. He's absolutely horrible at the podium. But hell, I mean, he had a pretty good draft. Looking back at the Kevin Durant deal, now that you saw everything the Suns got from, you feel better about it now. And you're starting to talk yourself into this Suns season. It's like, listen, Brian Gregory looked like an awful hire, looked like a Matt Ishbia fraternity brother, and that's how we got the job type of deal. But it's a common goal, everyone having that same shared feeling and goal, whether it's all just bleeding Michigan State green. Can't argue with results. However, there was also things that we had talked about before, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into it since it's just me being able to have my own thoughts here. Jesse, Mirmis, and Damari Carroll. So I'll read to you guys what the Suns set out today, but Mirmis is a veteran coach with 17 years of experience as an NBA assistant. He joins the Suns after 4 seasons with the Orlando Magic, where he helped the team elevate from a 21 to 51 record the season before his arrival to back-to-back playoff appearances and top 3 finishes in defensive rating. Now, why would the Suns put that last part, defensive rating? This is why I love the Jesse Mirmis hire. Jesse Mirmis hire as the Suns' top assistant. He's someone that comes from an Orlando Magic culture that is long, lengthy, defensive, push you around. Do you remember the Orlando Magic 2 seasons ago when they made the playoffs? Hell, even last season. But the one that's more memorable to me, it was 2 years ago in the first round against the Cleveland Cavaliers. One of the reasons why they went out and got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope after that is because in that series, no one could hit a basket. Outside of Paolo Banchero and Donovan Mitchell, it was a whole lot of houses being made with the amount of bricks being thrown out. I mean, it was awful. However, defensively, both teams were really stout. The Suns got some of the shot makers. At the very minimum, they have Devin Booker, and we think Jalen Green can at least get to the cup and score 15 points a night at minimum. At minimum. Obviously, we believe he could do more than that. The Suns can figure out the scoring thing. It's an easier thing to go out and get guys that can shoot the ball. They need to figure out the defensive side. Push dudes around. And although this coaching staff, it's hard to really dive into who's who, what have they done, because it's a lot of new faces. And that says a lot about Jordan Knott and his connections around the NBA. Doesn't seem like they were super deep. However, they went and got defensive-minded guys because it was such an embarrassment last year watching this team get beat to a pulp by every other team, run out of the building in 12 minutes of game time. We would, me, Brendan, Shane Young, John Voida, sometimes we joke around in the press box and say, oh, they're playing the Thunder tonight? Hey, who wants to take bets on how quickly they're down 30? You want to know how you stop that? Push the other team around. Be a physical team. So not just with Jesse Mirmis, but also Damari Carroll. I don't need to read Damari Carroll's, biography that the Suns set out. I know what he is. He's a tough guy. He's a big defensive menace. I remember his time with the Atlanta Hawks. I saw what he did. No, he wasn't a perennial every single year defensive player of the year guy, meaning like he wasn't winning back-to-back MVP or defensive player of the years, but he's a hell of a defensive player of the year guy, or he's a hell of a defensive player guy. He would go get the matchups with LeBron James. And so the Suns are building a culture, defensive, tenacious, but also connectivity. And everyone's got the same shared goal. It's the perfect place for the Suns to be. Yes, guys, I understand there is a little bit of a lack of experience on this. And that is, to an extent, an indictment on Jordan Knott, who just hasn't been around that long. But to me, I don't think a ton of that matters. Yes, of course, coaching matters. But guys, they're in the NBA. If they didn't have the ability to coach basketball, they'd be at your local YMCA screaming at your son to grab a rebound and box out. But they've earned their way here. And oftentimes, all people need sometimes a chance to showcase their talents. To me, it's what does it say about the highlighted people that are coming in to coach this team? Defensive minded, and we're all connected and we're all thinking the same way. And that's something the Suns didn't do for a long time. So, yes, is it a little worrisome that the experience isn't there completely? Sure. But overall, this is what the Suns are. It's a little bit newer, it's a little bit fresh, and we're going to go defensive, and we're all going to think the same way, while, of course, having the healthy dialogue. But with that being said as well, the Suns aren't playing on Christmas this year. They're not playing on MLK Day, and they'll likely have the least amount of nationally televised games than they've had in the previous seasons. What does that mean for the Phoenix Suns now? Should our expectations be even lower than we thought? Well, maybe not, but let's talk about it all next. So I thought this was interesting. I understand that Christmas Day is legitimately like the opening day for casual NBA fans. Obviously not for the everydayers and not for myself, but this is the NBA Christmas Day slate, which I got to tell you, man, these are great games. These are just absolutely awesome. Also, Kevin Durant having to go back to Oklahoma City on ring night for the Oklahoma City Thunder, hilarious. And it shows that Adam Silver's got a little bit of a funny bone. But on Christmas Day, Cleveland Cavaliers versus the New York Knicks. Then you got the Spurs versus the Thunder. Dallas Mavericks versus the Warriors. Rockets versus the Lakers. Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Denver Nuggets. What do all these teams have in common? Outside of the San Antonio Spurs, what do all those teams have in common? They were all playoff teams. Cavs made the second round. Knicks made the Eastern Conference Finals. Spurs, everyone's picking them as this year's darling in the Western Conference. Thunder, Finals. Mavs, a little wonky last year, but got Cooper Flag, expected to be better. Warriors, again, Jimmy Butler, a team that can always get hot depending on health. Rockets, expect to be everyone's darling in the Western Conference as well. The Lakers, going to be great with Luka and LeBron. Timberwolves, Nuggets, so on and so forth. They're all playoff teams. The NBA, unless they have to, of course, the Lakers, the Knicks, they'll be on these. They want massive ratings. But for the most part, it's teams that are interesting, teams that are going to be playoff teams. And it's important this year that Suns fans understand the Suns just aren't there this year. I understand That's easy to grasp. But last year we talked about this. The Suns had a Christmas Day game, and we had higher expectations. This is a warning to you. There's a chance the Suns don't make the playoffs this year. If I, looking at that list of teams that were in there, I would pick all those teams to make the playoffs this year. And, 2 of those 10 teams that are playing to be representing their conference in the finals. So I think it's just like, it's just interesting. Like, you look at this as well. What does it tell you about the Boston Celtics? They're not playing on Christmas Day. Want to know why? The NBA doesn't expect them to be very interesting. The Suns are moving into a different phase, and it's going to be difficult for Suns fans, people who follow the Suns, even myself to a degree, to follow this as intensely in terms of be as invested in it. Obviously, we're going to be watching every single game. We're going to be breaking down everything. But to feel as invested, because when you feel like your team isn't close to competing, it almost feels like time wasted sometimes. Because you're like, even if they win, they're not winning a championship. This can be just as fun. If you set your expectations correctly, a 35-plus win team with a chance of being a play-in team, to be scrappy and potentially make the playoffs and give a team a run for their money in the first round, it could be a ton of fun. It could be similar to the Phoenix Suns in the bubble year where they went 8-0. No one expected that team to be great. And when they were eliminated, sure, we were a little disappointed, but it was a hell of a ride. This team's going to get eliminated too at some point. Your expectations have to change. They are not going to be a Western Conference semifinal team this year. Hell, they might not be a first round team. But can they be feisty, be interesting, and set you up for next year when who knows who becomes available? And Matt Ishbia plucks them from then and brings them on the Suns. Becoming a championship contender isn't that far away from the Suns. But they have to understand this year, this is just made for, let's see what Devin Booker can do with a new cast, elevating the floor of this team, bringing in Mark Williams, Malawach, and Jalen Green, and just a deeper roster overall. And then we'll see where we're at next year. But on top of that, since we know the Suns aren't close this year to winning a title, although in the future I think they can be very close in the near future, but this year it's not going to happen. The Suns need to just be done with their offseason. No Trae Young rumors, no more Jonathan Kuminga rumors, unless, of course, you get one of those guys for an insane steal. I reserve the right to change my mind depending on if one of those crazy things happen and they gave up basically nothing to get them. But it's time to preach patience. Give it a year. Give it 2 years. Enjoy the moment of growing for the Suns. Because right now, what they are is not a championship contender. Just a team that's going to be frisky, it's going to be fun, that is going to be hopefully similar to the bubble Suns, where even though they won every single game, it crashed and burned because they just weren't good enough during the regular season. Watching this team grow is going to be fun. Ask the Houston Rockets that. Ask, the Golden State Warriors that years ago with Curry and Clay. This is a young team, something we've wanted for a long time, and now you have it. It's just going to take time. But the years of the Suns being on Christmas Day every single year, it's just not the case for likely the next 2, maybe 3 seasons. It was fun, but it's time to close that chapter of the Suns. They're not going to be must-see TV for the rest of the NBA to watch. It will be for us, and we're going to know, and if it works out, it'll be like our little secret. No one talking about the Suns. Everyone just collectively together, knowing how good this team is, and surprising the rest of the NBA. It's about patience. It's not about getting to be the best team as quickly as we can right away. That is no longer the direction of the Phoenix Suns. So I saw the Christmas Day stuff. I saw the MLK Day stuff, which MLK Day, a lot less in terms of like the start of the NBA season. Like obviously both holidays are massive, but what I'm saying is the Christmas Day one, is going to get a bigger rating than the MLK ones. And the Christmas ones are always seen as bigger games. But the Suns, regardless, even in the future, if they get an MLK Day game, the point is they're not going to be that team that is going to be must-see TV for the rest of the NBA, and that's okay. Let them take their licks for the next couple of seasons and let them slowly creep up the NBA ranks like they did before in 2021. And we can all agree that was a pretty great ride. Thanks again for watching Locked On Phoenix Suns and making it part of your daily routine. Check us out on all social media platforms. For myself, everybody watching Locked On Phoenix Suns, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys on Thursday night and or Friday morning whenever you're watching. See you guys then.